The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello?
Hello, is Jolene Robbins there?
This is she.
Someone reached out to us anonymously, and they said that Jolene is truly amazing. She works tirelessly on planning and organizing events in Mendon, and so we thought you could use a little break from all of the volunteer work you do, and we have free lunch for you at Firehouse Subs.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Well, that was very nice and very generous of you guys.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU.
From everybody at Cash Humane Society, we are proud to be your silver winner for a place to volunteer in the 2024 Best of Northern Utah. We couldn't have done it without you.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to the show. It is the Garden Guide on this Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. Got a lot to talk about, a lot going on at Anderson Seed and Garden today and over the next couple of weeks, and a lot happening as I think, Mark, it's time to start talking about we're heading into fall. Even though it's going to feel like summer today,
I know.
Fall is definitely
I
coming.
love fall, and I love fall weather, but summer has been too short this year.
Sure, it seems like that.
It's just too short. So it's like I can celebrate the start of fall coming up and the cooler temperatures. And we drove through Sardine the other day, and there's color showing up already. Early September, we're seeing color. So take that for what you want. It could mean early fall, could mean a lot of different things.
I've noticed the temperatures on top of Mount Logan are already starting to hit freezing overnight.
Chilly temperatures. Yeah,
it is coming.
It happens. But fall's a great time. I love fall. It means harvest. It means a little bit cooler temperatures. It means great color. It means moisture. We're gonna get moisture this fall again. So that's a great sign. If we can rehydrate up the soil before winter comes, that will be sensational. Then all of our snowpack just kind of runs off, and we get to fill the reservoirs up again. Yeah.
And as we start off, and we've got a lot we can talk about lawns and gardens, especially as we start to get some more moisture. But first, let's talk about what's going on at Anderson Seed and Garden as the cash sale is continuing on.
Cash sale continues. So 40% off all of our remaining trees and shrubs and evergreens and vines. So all of our nursery stock. Perennials are 50% off. So you get a little bit better discount on the perennials. But if you pay with cash on all of our trees and shrubs that are 40% off, you get an extra 10. So if you pay with cash, you get an extra 10% off. So you're up to that 50% discount on all those. And cash is cash. So dead presidents, green bills.
Yep. Or coin.
Yep. Or coin. Coin works okay too, unless it's in pennies.
Yes. Don't want to put the cashiers through that.
No, we don't want pennies. But so that's happening right now. Cash sales going on. We did just get some new perennials in. So our fall perennials are here. So we've got some asters and some mums and some of those perennials that like to bloom in the fall. And we did get some pansies in as well too. So we got some fall pansies for a little extra color. If some of your flowers are kind of finished up for the year, you can add some cool weather lovers in there. So you get some mums. The mums, once they start blooming, they'll pretty much bloom until it freezes in like October.
I mean, you'll get snow.
You'll get months of color out of them. And same with the asters will last a little bit longer because we are getting cooler temperatures. So the flowers don't fade quite as quickly. But those pansies, they'll bloom and bloom and bloom until snow covers them. Okay. So that's a great way to get some extra color out of the fall. The fall weather is with pansies and mums and I was going to say primroses, but that's spring. No primroses right now. Asters. Yeah, asters look really great right now. So a lot of fall flowers, a lot of fall color have come in. Cash sales going on. And next week is the Latino Festival.
Yes. In fact, if you look at over the next couple of weeks, there are going to be a lot of festivals and parties going on downtown Logan.
Yeah, and lots of fun things. If you haven't been to the Latino Festival, you got to come. You just got to experience it, because when you first did it a couple of years ago, we're just like, that sounds great.
Yeah,
and it was after the marathon, so we're like, whatever. It's good. And then the party started. After the marathon was over, everybody left. They were all tired. They run the marathon, and then the party starts up, and we're like, dang, this is awesome. It was so much fun, and the colors and the sounds and the smells, everything just smells good and sounds fun. And then you see all the bright colors going, and it's really a great time.
Yeah,
it's really a great time, and it's a great way to celebrate all of our Latino community. And we're not talking just Mexico. We're talking like all of South America, all of Central America will be represented at the festival. It's really cool.
The Parade of Flags is my favorite, as you realize just how much our community is impacted by so many different cultures.
Yeah.
And so, Carolina Calbamonte, our executive here at the Cache Valley Media Group, put this before us several years ago and said, hey, I want to try this. And we were much like you, Mark. We said, okay, let's give it a shot. And never had any idea it would be as big as it was.
Yeah,
so
it's really fun to put these events together, and then all of a sudden people just like show up and just have a lot of fun, and it makes you want to do it again.
Yeah,
it really makes you want to do it again.
That's the plan. Is this kind of become a yearly tradition for us?
So it starts earlier in the morning this year too. What are they starting to like?
Going to be starting around noon. I think.
Okay, that's great.
And then it will be continuing all day. The parade will be later on, and then you've got dancing, you've got music, and of course the food.
Yep.
That's
next Saturday.
Definitely a highlight.
So Center Street will be closed, and there'll be a lot of fun going on. So come down and enjoy, and just have a good time.
Yeah,
have a good time.
And then speaking of shutting Center Street down, we got to talk about the Pumpkin
Festival. Yeah, so Pumpkin Festival is coming up on the 28th of September, and you've got to get it on your calendar, because as of right now, we have a grower in Idaho that is more than likely going to shatter the Idaho state record for largest pumpkin. So we will have a state new champion crowned, new record at the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival, and there is a possibility we might break the Utah record too, which is considerably higher than the Idaho record right now. So it sounds like we have two pumpkin growers that are thinking they could very likely break that record. So current record is 2,280 something pounds, I think. So it's almost 2,300 pounds. Our winner last year was just under 1,800 pounds. So that means our winner this year could be 500 pounds heavier than our winner last year. I mean, it's crazy. It's so crazy.
You think of the size. We just recently finished the KVNU studio, and you think, okay, a 2,400-pound pumpkin would take about half of this room.
I have two 500-pound plus pumpkins at home. This is 5 times bigger.
Wow.
And the 500-pounders I've got at home are huge.
Are massive.
Yeah, they're huge. They're like really big. And I'm going, dang, massive pumpkins. So that will be exciting. So if you want to see some really, really big pumpkins, come to the Pumpkin Festival. But there's other stuff going on as well too. So we've got music going throughout the day at the Lob Plaza. So at the Lob Plaza, there's going to be 3 bands playing at about 11, at about 1, and about 3 o'clock.
Okay.
And then at 5 o'clock, we'll have our main event music on the stage on Center Street. So we've got some great bands coming, a lot of fun music. It's a little diverse music. So we've got our headliner is Beatles cover band. So it's the Lonely Hearts Club Band. Yeah. So from 5 o'clock until about 7, they're going to play until it just kind of starts to get dark. Right. And they'll go until we kick them off the stage, I think. I think they have like 2 or 3 hours worth of music to play, since the Beatles don't have many hits.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have many hits at all.
Huge discography to choose from.
So that'll be fun. And then there's there's like bluegrass, and there's like some soft rock and some different music at the plaza going throughout the day. We have partnered up with Crust Club, and we're doing a pumpkin pie eating contest.
Oh, yes.
So that's going to be in between some of the acts over at the Lob Plaza. So that should be a lot of fun. And we're not quite sure how they're going to run registration for that yet. So registration's not open for it, but I think they're going to open it up the day of the event. So if you want to participate in the pumpkin pie eating contest, we'll get you more information on that as we get closer. But it sounds like we'll have like 4 categories, and we'll have probably like 10, 12 contestants in each category, and just kind of see what happens. So it will be a little limited. Might be first come, first serve. So, to participate, but it should be a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to that. We have about 90 plus vendor booths right now. Some, of course, are like nonprofits, but they're going to have like activities in their booth for kids to play and do different things. There's a lot of interactive activities. There'll be art going on. There'll be games. There'll be prizes. We've got movies going on all day at the Utah Theater. Oh, yeah. So every hour there's Charlie Brown. The giant, the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Yep, that'll be going on. And then we've got another movie at like 5 and at 7 o'clock, which is Paranorman. And the Paranorman's kind of fun. It's kind of Halloween-y, but it's kind of like fall too. It's hard to find really good fall movies.
There's not a whole lot.
There's not a lot. We don't want to show the same thing every single time. So we thought, well, let's give it a shot. It's a cute animated movie, family fun type movie. Tons of kids activities. There's like pumpkin decorating and games, and just so much going on. And there will be activities in the plaza as well too, and the vendors are going to go through the parking lot because we don't have enough room on Center Street for all of them. Go through the parking lot over to the plaza as well too, so you'll be able to go over to the plaza. And then there's a bunch of businesses on Main Street that are participating too, so it's kind of spread the festival out a little bit farther, so it's not just on Center Street, but it really goes up Main Street over to the plaza as well too.
Well, and half of the street is going to be covered with pumpkins too. But
you know what? That's the coolest part is just to come and just walk down our pumpkin gallery and just check out how big the pumpkins are. Lots of photo opportunities. So we'll have photo opportunities with some of the biggest pumpkins throughout the day where you can come get your picture taken with it. And we've got artists working on the sidewalk. So we'll have sidewalk art. We'll have some pumpkin carving. We are hoping to have an ice sculptor there. He'll be sculpting. He might carve a pumpkin, jack-o'-lantern, something out of ice. And then we've got a couple artists. They're going to be doing either chalk art or just some live creations while they're working. So there'll be a lot of really fun things to see and to watch and to participate in. And of course, the main event is we're weighing those pumpkins all day long just to see who's going to have the Center Street Giant this year. So we will crown a new Center Street Giant this year, and it sounds like we are going to break last year's record.
Could be breaking records.
We could break Utah's record. I'm pretty sure we're going to break Idaho's record.
All right.
So it's exciting. We just really have some fun. Great sponsors. We have some amazing sponsors. I cannot list them all here, but Lee's has stepped up and really, really helped us a lot with the Pumpkin Festival. Cache Valley Electric, they don't advertise that they do a lot of stuff, but they have really helped us a lot this year. So it's nice. It's so nice to have such great local support for an event like this, and they've been amazing. And Alpha Graphics has really stepped up and helped us as well too. So. And we'll be live that morning doing a garden show and that's really fun too. Center Street. Yeah, really had fun. I really had a good time doing that last year. It was great. We invited some of our sponsors to come on and talk about things, and we'll do this. We'll do that again. Yeah, we'll do that again this year. So it should be a lot of fun. Well, a lot to talk about when it comes to lawn and gardens. As we were just beginning the show, I mentioned, as you look at the forecast, we've got rain in the forecast. We've got temperatures dropping down into the 70s. We're going to go from 90s to 70s, a 20-degree jump in just a couple of days. I'm loving it. And so a lot that you want to do as you focus on the garden, because with the rain that we could be getting, definitely time to harvest onions, potatoes. Get some of those crops that are in the ground. I was hoping to get my onions and my potatoes dug up this week, and I had a conference down in Salt Lake for a couple of days, and a couple other things came up, and I just didn't get to it this weekend. Onions are getting dug up. Potatoes are getting dug up, because if it gets really wet and rainy next week, they'll start to grow again. So you want to make sure and get those harvested before we get a lot of moisture, because they'll start to grow again, and they won't keep as well for you. Yeah, if you don't get them harvested at the right time, they just won't keep as well as you'd like them to.
Okay.
Yeah. Good time to start planting garlic. So we've got lots of garlic in stock. I have probably 14 varieties right now, and I've got 4 or 5 more coming like anytime. They should show up anytime. And I've got all my organic varieties that are coming as well too. So we've been waiting for our certified organic. They will be here. They'll be here next week, and got a lot of nice varieties there too. And we've got a new source. We're going to try and see how nice their garlic is from the Midwest. They're supposed to be really, really good garlic growers. So we've got a couple new varieties coming from them. So we should have about 20 to 22 varieties of garlic by the end of next week is what I'm kind of hoping for. So a good time to get that planted. And if it does rain this next week, perfect time to get your lawn going. Yeah. So fall application, it's time to fertilize. Usually around Labor Day, we suggest, this is time for your third or your fourth application, depending on where you're at through the year. And it's also weed season. So this is the time to really get after the weeds and get your lawn looking good again. And it's a great time to do a little overseeding, do a little aeration, maybe do a little bit of both. Get some new varieties coming in your grass. And hopefully next week we'll have a guest on the show. We'll be talking more about lawns, yeah.
And you can also start to trim back your watering, too, as we get into some of the wetter months of fall.
Yeah. We've really kind of adjusted our sprinklers already to where we've taken, extra watering out. So twice a week right now is like plenty, probably every 3 to 5 days, depending on the type of grass you've got. You can really cut your water back. And if we do hit the low 80s, 70s, maybe even 60s, that will change even more. You could probably get away with once a week, and your lawn would be just happy as can be. Yeah, happy as can be. But if we do get some moisture, it's a great time to do either a weed and feed or to spray for weeds and then put a good fertilizer on as well too. And if you haven't ever done a weed and feed and had success getting your weeds, because I had someone in the store yesterday, and they were really kind of struggling with whether to get a weed and feed or to try something different, and started asking questions and found out that every time they put their weed and feed on, they water it right after they put it on.
And that'll do it.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So it's like, my lawn always looks good when I put it on, but it never kills any weeds. And once we start asking questions, it's like, okay, we got to do it a little bit different. So if you really want to get success with weed and feed, start with a really good product. And I would recommend our Weed-Free Zone is like our best weed and feed. Stronger weed killer, works in cooler temperatures, works on the hardest to kill weeds, has a great fertilizer with iron in it. So excellent product. Start with a good product. Make sure it is 2 days before you want to mow or a couple days after you've mowed before you put it on. So you don't want to put it on and then mow it immediately, or you don't want to mowed it and then throw it right on. Yeah. We need a little bit of leaf surface on the weeds. So usually a couple days after you've mowed, or do it a couple days before you're going to mow, or somewhere in between there. But make sure you have the right mowing. Make sure the grass is a little bit damp when you apply it. So you want to have a little bit of moisture out there. Turn the sprinklers on for like 5 minutes just to get some moisture out there. Sometimes there's enough dew on the grass in the morning to get the weed killer to stick, but sometimes you got to just supplement it a little bit. And once you get that fertilizer weed killer combination put on there, grass is a little bit damp, make your application, and then leave it on for 24 hours and then water it. So with most fertilizers, especially in the summer, you want to water right after you put the fertilizer down. With a weed and feed, you don't. You need it to stay on for 24 hours. Otherwise, all it does is wash your weed killer off the weeds
and down into
the soil, and it doesn't kill anything. So the process again: mow a couple days before, moisture, get that grass a little bit damp, not super wet, just a little bit damp. Apply your weed killer, leave it on for 24 hours, then water it in. And daytime temperature should be somewhere between 60 and 85 degrees.
Okay,
and you're perfect. That's daytime temperatures, not nighttime.
So after today, you're right in that perfect zone.
It doesn't get any better. Yeah, it doesn't get any
70s, 80s is exactly the target you're looking for.
Yep. And if it looks like it's going to rain, that's okay. Just make sure it has 12 to 24 hours before it gets watered, and you'd be fine. So if you're looking at the weather and you're going, oh, it's going to rain on Friday, do it on Wednesday, Wednesday evening. It'll stay on all day Thursday. And if it rains on Friday, then you're like, perfect. And if the temperatures are cooler, you don't have to worry about it getting watered like immediately once you hit that 24-hour period. It can stay on a little bit longer, but we don't like it staying out there for too long, because if the fertilizer starts to break down, it can burn your grass just a little bit. But the cooler the temperatures, the less likely it is to burn your grass. So if you put it on and it's 72 degrees, during the time that it's on before it gets watered, if it goes an extra 12 hours,
then you're okay.
It's not going to be a problem, yeah. But if it goes like a week,
yeah,
and it doesn't get watered, that could be a bit of a problem.
It could be a problem.
Yeah, a little bit of a problem. Yeah.
Now, during the summer months, we talked about raising your lawnmower up a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Now that we start getting into the fall, is it time to start lowering that mower again?
You can start dropping your mower a little bit. I probably wouldn't do it till the end of this month, though.
Okay.
So September, we can still get some really warm temperatures. Leave it a little bit longer. Your grass will recover a lot faster. And, you don't have to mow it like clockwork anymore. You can let it go a little bit longer if you need to. Like right now, our grass isn't growing quite as fast. And so we're not even mowing once a week. We're really kind of doing it every 10 days or so.
About 2 weeks.
Which is great. Yeah. It's like I don't have to mow it quite as much. But as it cools down and you throw a little fertilizer on, you'll probably have to bump that back up to, closer to once a week. But that's okay. And it'll really get the grass. Like if you put a good fertilizer on right now, say you don't have a big weed problem, you just want to really get a good fertilizer on there, then I would use like our Southwest Green Maker from Fertilome, or our 23-316, which has both of those products have like extra iron in them to really green the lawn up, get it looking good. Those products you would want to water in. So if it looks like it's going to rain, say next Friday, go ahead and put that on, Thursday night. And if it rains on Friday, you don't even have to worry about turning the sprinklers on.
You're okay.
Yeah, it's like great. But if it doesn't rain, then make sure and turn the sprinklers on, get it watered in. And within a week, you'll see your grass really perk up. This is a good time to fertilize to get the grass healthy again after a hot, dry, stressful summer. Let's get that grass healthy again. And then we'll do a winterizer really, really late this year. So we're usually recommending a winterizer between Halloween and Thanksgiving. And that really sits out there all winter and feeds the grass and really gets it to recover and recuperate after growing all year. It just gives it that rest, but it has that food to feed on all winter long. Critical fertilizer to put on that winterizer. But if we do one right now, shortly after Labor Day, that will really help get your grass back in shape so that it will be amazing next year.
Okay.
Yeah, big difference. And then if you don't have too many weeds, you can still go out there and spot treat. And I really like to use a liquid herbicide, say, over a weed and feed. Weed and feeds are easy. They're convenient because you can do, kill two birds with
broadcast it out.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about
two birds with one stone. It just saves you some time, but it's not always the most effective way to control the weeds. So we'll always recommend a liquid, especially if you put a weed and feed on and then it didn't quite get all the weeds. You can go back and you can spot treat with a liquid. And we'd recommend the Weed Free Zone liquid because it works on morning glory and thistles and mallow and clover and a lot of the really, really hard to kill weeds. It'll kill dandelions like crazy and purslane and other weeds that have gotten into your lawn. But that morning glory is tough, and Weed Free Zone does a great job on morning glory. And that's one where it's rain fast in just a couple hours. So if you do spray on Friday and it rains like 2 hours after you sprayed, it's still going to kill all the weeds.
You're fine.
Had plenty of time to get into the weeds, start to do its job before the rain hit, and it's still going to work great. If you do have a concern, you think it might get washed off too quickly, use a surfactant. Use a spreader sticker or the herbicide enhancer from High Yield. It will make your weed killer adhere longer, so it'll stick to the weeds longer, makes it penetrate into the weed quicker, and it will give you like a rain fast quality to your weed spray after about 30 minutes.
Okay.
So even if it rains 20 or 30 minutes after you've sprayed, if you use a surfactant like the herbicide enhancer or the spreader sticker, it'll make it so it's rain fast in 30 minutes.
We used the spreader sticker this year for the first time, and wow, what a difference.
Oh, it makes the weed killers work twice as well.
Yeah.
And then you get the rain fast quality out of it as well too. It just makes them more effective.
We had fought clover for years in our front yard, and yeah.
We tell people when you use that herbicide enhancer, it makes your herbicide work 2 or 3 times better, even at the lower rate of usage. So if it gives you a range of usage that's like, use 2 to 4 tablespoons per gallon, you can use the lowest recommended rate, do the 2 tablespoons, and it'll work better than if you used it at the 4 when you use the surfactant with it. So it makes that much of a difference.
Great way to take care of your lawn as we're heading into some cooler temperatures. And coming up after the break, we're going to talk about what you can do for your garden. It's all as the Garden Show continues here on KVNU. After the hour with your KVNU News update, I'm Will Feelright. The news brought to you by Firehouse Subs. A 2-year-old girl drowned in a Logan Canal east of Ellis Elementary School. The incident occurred Friday night around 6:30. Logan City Police Captain Shan Nazer said 911 dispatch operators received a report of the missing girl from her home near 70 North 400 West. Officers immediately arrived in the neighborhood and began searching the area, including the Benson Canal that runs in front of the residence. Within a short time, officers located the child in the water 2 blocks north of the girl's home. She was not breathing or responsive. Now, Nazer said that officers immediately began CPR until paramedics arrived on the scene and took over life-saving measures. The girl was transported to Intermountain Logan Regional Hospital, where she was later pronounced dead. Cache County victim advocates were called to the scene to help the family and emergency personnel with the tragic event. And government watchdog groups are asking a judge to remove from the Utah ballot a measure that would give lawmakers more power over citizen initiatives. Now, the court filing earlier this week is the latest episode in a years-long battle over who has the power to draw legislative and congressional districts in the Republican-dominated state. Now, groups, including the League of Women Voters and Mormon Women for Ethical Government, say in their court filing that lawmakers are using deception to get voters to surrender their constitutional rights, while lawmakers in other states have mounted similar attempts to control political map-making. Well, looking at mostly clear skies and some warm temperatures through the weekend as we're going to stay in the high 80s to low 90s with overnight temperatures right around the low 50s with mostly clear skies until late Sunday night into Monday when we could see a small chance of showers. Will Feelright, KVNU News.
I'm Jim Bass. We'll kick it off with the NFL in South America for the very first time.
2 receivers to the near side. Jahan Dotson to the far side. Hurts back. Hurts looking. Hurts looping it. And it is caught for a touchdown by Barkley. Barkley for a touchdown and a perfect pass as he beats Isaiah McDuffie.
That's 94 WIP. Saquon Barkley scored 3 touchdowns in his Eagles debut. Philadelphia 34-29 past the Packers. Jordan Love landed awkwardly late, walked off, missing the final 2 snaps. U.S. Open men's title will include an American, Taylor Fritz, blasting Francis Tiafoe in 5 sets. Top-ranked Yannick Sinner, a straight-set winner over Jack Draper in search of a second Grand Slam this year. Jessica Pegula will take on Arina Sabalenka in the U.S. Open women's title today. To baseball, the Mets continue their roll. That's 8 straight. Mark Vientos, the walk-off 2-run jack in a 6-4 win over the Reds. Yordan Alvarez hit 2 3-run home runs. Astros blanked the Diamondbacks 8-0. Trey Turner, triple shy of the cycle as the Phillies just blast the Marlins 16-2. Shohei Ohtani at his 45th home run knocked in his 100th run, but the Guardians beat the Dodgers 3-1. Gunnar Henderson his 36th home run. Baltimore blanks Tampa 2-0. Stay a half game in front of the Yankees, who got a 3-0 win at Wrigley Field. Red Sox hand the White Sox their 110th loss 3-1, while Manny Machado homered twice to tie a San Diego home run record 163 in a Pods uniform. 5-1 winners over the Giants. Braves keep pace with the Mets as they get a 3-1 win over Toronto. Nafisha Collier scored 9 of her 26 in the third quarter. Lynx overcame a 25-point night from Caitlin Clark to snap Indiana's 5-game winning streak, 99-88.
The Aggies are heading to USC to face the Trojans Saturday afternoon.
The Nate Dreiling era at Utah State begins with a W.
KVNU is your home for the best game coverage with pregame at 7, kickoff at 9, and postgame and Aggie call immediately after the game. It's the Aggies and the Trojans.
We're going to have a chance. If we continue to fight, it's going to be a fun season. So we'll see you in L.A. Looking forward to it.
Saturday on News Talk KVNU, the heritage home for the Aggies. The expert with a green thumb. It's the Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM at 102.1 FM.
Welcome back. It is the Garden Guide on this Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. We were talking about all things lawn earlier in the last segment before we went to the news break. And we want to kind of transition, talk about gardens. But before we do, just a quick reminder, if you didn't hear us mention it at the top of the show, the cash sale going on right now. You could save up to 50%.
Yes. So our trees, flowering trees, evergreens, shrubs, flowering shrubs, vines, they're all on sale, 40% off right now. And we still have a really great selection. So there's some really good shrubs and some really nice trees available. They are 40% off. But if you pay with cash, like the green bill stuff, you get an extra 10% off. Yeah, so an extra 10. And then we do have a couple plants that we have an overabundance of. And so I've got some pie cherries that we've thrown an extra 10 on top of that. So not only are you getting the 50% off, but you're actually getting 60 off. Oh. Yeah, and some potentilla. I got some extra potentilla as well, too. So we have a couple specials that we've thrown in there for the cash sale as well, too. But if you pay with cash, you're going to get 50% off. Regular price on all those plants. Our perennials are already half price, and we just got some new perennials in as well too. And pansies came in. They're not on sale though. So pansies not on sale. Yeah. But there's some great color that you can use for fall. So really good time to come in and pick up some plants. The weather is perfect for planting. Doesn't get any better. And still have some really nice trees. Good time to add to your landscape.
Yeah, and
trees
perfect time as you look ahead to the next week, and we've got some rain in the forecast.
Yeah.
This is the time to do it.
Really doesn't get any better. Yeah, if we get some cooler temperatures, low 70s are going to be. They're going to feel amazing.
Yeah.
After it's been kind of hot this last week, it's going to be really, really nice to have some cool temperatures. A little bit of rain would be awesome, and it's a great time to get out there and do some planting. And we have garlic in stock as well too, and it's a good time to plant garlic. And more varieties coming. So I have soft neck varieties that keep a little bit better. I have hard neck varieties that have a little more robust flavor. I would say the best way. They all taste like garlic.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll have 22 varieties of garlic. They all taste like garlic. But some have a little bit more flavor, a little more robust. Some are a little spicier. Some have a little bit more heat to them. And the soft necks tend to keep longer.
Okay.
The hard necks tend to have a more consistent flavor and usually a little bit more robust flavor. Where sometimes the hard necks, they're either kind of spicy and hot or really mild.
Oh.
The hard necks tend to be more consistent in their heat and their flavor as well too. So I like. There's a lot of hard necks that I really like. They're good. You can roast them. You can do all kinds of different things with the garlic. And now's the time. Now's the time to plant that garlic.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool.
Now, we were talking about lawns in the last segment,
right.
And we should probably mention, as you talked about, great time to plant trees, but also a great time to seed your lawn.
Grass, yeah. From now until about the first or second week of October, depends on what Mother Nature throws at us. But for the next month, this is prime time for grass planting. It does not get any better because the soil's really warm. Cooler temperatures, you're going to have grass popping up in like 7 days.
Now, I saw one of these on social media that we can kind of debunk for a moment. Someone was saying if you've got just one little spot of ground that has died, or maybe you hit it with the lawnmower, you took a chunk out of it, they suggested mixing your grass seed with toilet paper. And just... You're not going to turn it into a paste, but just mix it together and then spread that out. It's kind of chunky.
Yeah.
But the toilet paper actually produces a little bit of moisture, extra moisture.
It'll hold the moisture
for that grass seed.
That is an interesting concept. I've never ever told anybody to mix toilet paper with their grass seed. The concept kind of makes sense. However, at Anderson's, we have a seed treatment that you just sprinkle on the seed and kind of shake and bake it in a bag, and it has the polymer in it that is in diapers. But it's like really, really finely ground, and it's kind of static electrically charged, so it sticks to the grass seed. And it just looks like a little kind of black coating that you put on the grass seed. And then when you plant it and you water it, then the polymer absorbs 100 times its weight in water, and it produces this little gel that kind of coats the seed. And it will come up faster, and it holds the moisture longer. That's amazing. I would do that instead of the toilet paper.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It costs about the same as the toilet paper, because it's like 50 cents a pound for us to add that to your grass seed. It's super cheap. And then you don't have to sit there and shred toilet paper all day for your grass seed. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I just find that after 2 waterings, your TP is going to be gone.
Yeah, and it's kind of going to be ugly in the yard. And people wonder, what did you do?
There's nothing left, but that seed coating, that stuff
really
works. It works amazing. It's got a little bit of graphite in it, so it gives it a little bit of coloring, but the graphite is dark, and so it absorbs the heat from the sun as well too, and so it generates some heat. It holds the moisture around the grass seed. Your grass seed will germinate and come up so much faster.
Okay.
Yeah, really, really cool stuff. And then hopefully next week I'll have Doug from Agronotech on, and we'll be talking about varieties of grass seed and planting and overseeding and all the things you can do right now to kind of rejuvenate your lawn and maybe introduce some new varieties and get some new resistances and some new qualities into your grass. So hopefully he'll be able to come up next week and we can make that happen. So yeah, that'll be great.
Great time to plant grass seed.
Yeah.
Great time also, we mentioned earlier, harvesting onions, squash, potatoes.
It's a little early for squash, but potatoes and onions definitely want to get those harvested, especially if the weather changes, starts to get cooler. And then I'm planning, if it rains next week, I'm planning on putting a cover crop out in my garden. So some people might be going, what's that?
Yeah.
What's a cover crop? Are we going to go grow more stuff out there? And it's like, well, yeah, kind of, but we're not going to eat it. We're going to incorporate it back into the soil. So if we get a couple of rainstorms next week, you can put what's called a cover crop or a green manure on your garden. It will take the place of the weeds, so you don't have more weeds coming up. And we usually recommend, there's a lot of different things you can use. You can use like clover works great, buckwheat. We sell a lot of buckwheat in the fall for this. Annual or winter rye, vetch. They all will grow fairly rapidly. And then what you do in the fall is you just mow it down, but you don't want to bag it. You just like mow it and mulch it up a little bit, and then incorporate it back into the soil.
So you rototill it back in.
Rototill it back in, and what it does is it puts organic matter and fiber back into the soil, but it also, a lot of them will generate some nitrogen as well too. So your clover and your vetch will generate nitrogen. What it does is it loosens the soil up, puts that plant material back into the soil. It puts a lot of nutrient value back into the soil, and it just keeps your clay from clumping up. I mean, last year we put a lot of compost on our garden with some straw and with some leaves and some grass clippings, and that just keeps your soil from clumping up. You get all that organic matter in there that decomposes over the wintertime, and that organic matter is smaller than your clay particles, and it keeps your soil from clumping up. So now all of a sudden you have this really light, fluffy soil that doesn't compact down and suffocate your plant roots, and that's what the cover crop does as well too. So it puts nutrient back in, organic matter back in. It helps just make your soil light and fluffy and nice and beautiful again. So you can do combinations of the different ground the different cover crops. So you could put clover and buckwheat and vetch and rye all together in there, and just broadcast it out. And you don't even have to like cover it up. I mean, you could rake it if you wanted to, but even if it's just sitting on the surface, we get a couple of rainstorms and it's going to just like germinate like crazy. And then you've got that coming up. And I mean, if you've got some weeds coming up as well too, just let them do their thing, and then come end of October, 1st November, just go out there and just mow it down and run the tiller over it and work that in. Usually we'll recommend like humic
Mm-hmm.
Some humic to add some microbes and microorganisms and minerals and micronutrients back into the soil, but it'll help break that stuff down over the wintertime. So it'll speed up the decomposition process, add some nitrogen as well too. And then if you want to add other soil amendments, you could do more compost, you could do the leaves, and you could do the grass clippings. And then this fall, just make sure and till it all in. Just get it tilled in as much as possible, and then let Mother Nature work her magic over the wintertime, and all of a sudden all that organic matter and all that plant material is going to decompose and turn back into soil, and you'll have like the best garden next year you've ever had.
Okay, so
cover crops right now. If you can get that out there and let Mother Nature rain on it and get that coming up, you will really see a big difference in your garden for next year.
Now, cost-wise, to do a garden with cover crop,
it's like so inexpensive. The buckwheat, I think, is like $4 a pound, 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
So if you got a 1,000 square foot garden, you do a couple different, do different cover crops together. You're $20.
Yeah,
$20 or $30, and that's cheaper than going and buying a whole bunch of compost and spreading that out.
It's fertilizer.
It's very inexpensive to do, depending on how big your garden is. My garden's 8,000 square feet, so if I want to put a lot of compost on there, it gets kind of expensive.
Yeah,
so this is a very inexpensive way to really put a lot of nutrient and a lot of organic matter, a lot of plant material back into your garden in a very simple and easy way to do it. Very inexpensive.
All right.
Yeah, very inexpensive.
So one of the questions you probably had a lot over the last couple of weeks is with gardens, people wanting to know, how do you get tomatoes to ripen?
Yeah. Every day, I've got somebody coming in.
At least a couple times, I'm sure.
Every day. I had somebody in today. My tomato plants look so great. It's like they look so awesome this year. They're big. They're loaded with fruit. I can't get the stupid things to ripen.
And all the tomatoes are green.
Yeah, they're like, what can I do? What can I do? And it is a bit of a problem when we get a late start to the season like we did this year. So the tomatoes are a little slow coming on. And now we're going to start getting cooler temperatures, and the daylight hours are getting shorter. Unfortunately, I've noticed that by 8 o'clock, it's kind of dark by 8 o'clock now, where before it was like almost 10, it was getting dark. So our daylight hours are starting to shorten as well too. So the tomatoes are slowing down. So even though they've set a lot of fruit and the fruit's like full size, it's not ripening up as fast as we'd like it to. So there's definitely some things that we can do to encourage them to ripen this month, because really by the time we get to October, those green tomatoes they're just going to be green. Yeah. So we want to get them in the next couple of weeks so we can enjoy the fruits of our labors and get those going. So first thing I do is cut the plants back so there's not as much foliage. So we don't want lots of greenery all over the place. Just kind of take a head shear and just kind of trim them back. Even if you're cutting flower blossoms off, don't worry about it, because they're not going to set fruit at this point. So trim them back so that the sunlight can get into the plant and ripen the fruit up quicker. That's first thing. Second thing, we're going to cut our water back. So we're only going to water half as much as we have been watering them, maybe even less, because if we get some storms, then the soil moisture is going to stay there. We want them to stress a little bit in between watering. So really cut the water back so that your plants, they're not like totally wilting down to the ground, but we want them to wilt a little bit so that they realize they better start producing fruit, or else they're going to kick the bucket.
Time to start ripening.
It's time to start ripening. So we're going to like stress those plants to the point where they're really wilty during the day, and then it'll be time to water them again. So really, really cut your water back. I'd say 50 to 70%. We're going to cut our water back and stress the plants so they'll produce. And then we want to retain the heat as much as possible, as long as possible into the evening and nighttime hours. And so usually around 5 o'clock or so, when you get home from work, whatever, throw some not plastic, but we're gonna put like frost cloth on the plants. So a thicker, like I've got a thicker white fabric that's made for frost protection and plant protections, keep the bugs off the plants. Use that and cover your plants with it in the late afternoon. It will generate that heat, and it's going to hold the heat throughout the nighttime. And so if we can get those plants to stay warmer longer, even into the nighttime hours, then the fruit's going to ripen up longer. So we need to retain extra heat on those plants to get that fruit to ripen up. So 3 things: Prune.
Cut back the water.
Frost cloth.
And frost cloth.
Frost cloth. That will really, really, really help.
Okay.
And if they haven't ripened by the end of September, that's not going to happen.
All right.
And then
it's just time to pick them and take them down to your
really
root cellar.
by the time we hit the first part of October, I mean, our daytime temperatures are maybe in the 60s. If
Yeah, it's just not
70s every now and then. It's like we're going to get some 70s, we're going to get some 60s, we're going to get some 50s. We're probably going to get some 40s, as well. So we're going to get some cold days in there. So it's like, let's make sure that we really have the best temperatures in September a little bit longer to get those plants to ripen up. So
okay,
yeah. That's what
so
we
some
do.
tips on ripening those tomatoes. Now, one of the things that we're dealing with in our house is fruit and how to preserve it as long as you can.
Right.
Went down to visit a sister, came home with a couple bags of plums, and how do you keep those from going bad so fast? And peaches especially are notorious for going bad real quick.
Yep. Temperature is critical. So once you pick them, they are going to start to decompose faster, especially if they're stored with other fruits, because they give off ethylene gas, and the ethylene speeds up the ripening. So if you're picking things and they're not quite ripe, then you store them for a little bit and then they ripen up. Like your pears will do that. But your plums, unfortunately, will just start to decompose really quickly if you pick them when they're ripe. So the cooler temperatures you can do, the better without freezing them. So 35 to 45 degrees. So store them in as cool a location as possible without the sun hitting them. Don't store your fruits with your vegetables, because it will speed up the decomposition of your vegetables as well too.
Keep them separate.
Yeah, so you want to keep those separate, and so don't keep them in the same spot. You really need a location for your fruit to store, like apples and pears and things, that's different from your vegetables, your onions and your potatoes and your squashes, because it will speed up the decomposition of those plants as well too. So just be aware of that. And then there's some great ways now to preserve those fruits without losing quality or nutrition out of them. So you can freeze dry, you can dehydrate as well too. So a lot of the dehydrated fruits, like, that's amazing. It's like leaves all the nutrients, it leaves all the sugars, and it's like condensed, concentrated deliciousness.
Dehydrated apricots.
They don't get any better.
Yeah,
they really don't get any better. And so you can do the same thing with the prunes, or with plums will be prunes if you dry them that way. But if you want to keep them fresh, you got to store them in as cool a location as possible.
Okay.
But at some point they're just going to start breaking down.
All right.
They're just going to start breaking down. And again, keep the veggies away from the fruits, unless you want to ripen your veggies up. So
okay, keep them separate.
Yeah. So that's why, you can do the same thing with your tomatoes. If you want to ripen the tomatoes up, you put them in with your fruit, because the tomatoes, they are fruits. So they're fruits. So you put those in with your plums that are like putting off the ethylene gas. It'll ripen your tomatoes up. They don't taste as good if they're not ripening on the vine. But they're still better than nothing. So still much better than not having them at all.
Okay. Well, in the last few minutes we have, I know another question you're getting a lot right now, because it seems like every time we're going outside, we're seeing insects, spiders.
Oh, yeah.
Hornets are everywhere.
Yeah. Hornets like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I've got like 10 people a day coming in. They're like, I just got bit.
Yeah.
What do you got?
And
Need to get rid of those suckers.
Seem to love, and I don't know what it is about mailboxes or electrical boxes or cable boxes.
Yeah, like your breaker box, and they just find anywhere to hang in. We've got a cover on our hot tub, and they'll start to build a nest underneath the cover of the hot tub, where it just kind of curls up a little bit. And it's just like, I'm not getting in the hot tub and getting stung with the stupid hornets. So we have some traps that work really well. And the traps attract the hornets and the wasps and the yellow jackets to the traps. They get stuck inside. They can't get out. So that really helps a lot, but it's not 100% effective. So the traps work well. Just make sure you put the traps away from the places where you're hanging out. And it works much better to have it, out by the barn or out by the shed instead of like close to the deck, because then it's going to attract them to your deck instead. So don't put them in the places where you're going to be, inhabiting. put them out away from those areas so that they're attracted to that instead of to where the barbecue is or where the picnic table is or however that works. And then if they are building some nests, I've got some sprays that actually foam up when they hit the target. So when they hit the target, it's not just liquid hitting it. It hits the target and then it foams up and then it will cover the nest, and you'll have a better way of controlling them that way because it kind of saturates the whole nest. And then if they come in contact with the insecticide, then it will kill them. Safe to use. I mean, kids and pets should move away. Mm-hmm. And once you spray, give enough time to dry, and then everybody can go back in there. And the best time to spray is in the evening, just as the sun's going down. So spray really late in the evening. Sun's down, but still light outside. And that's when the wasps and hornets and yellow jackets come home for the night. So you're more likely to get better results spraying the nest because you'll have, the majority of them will be home at that point. And with the foaming spray, it's great because you can spray from 20 feet away and then it foams up and covers the nest. You don't have to run like crazy because you're being attacked.
You're now right there.
Yeah, you're being attacked by the wasps. It really does a good job, and it covers the whole nest, and then you get a better control that way.
The only thing I've found is even though that shoots really far, don't shoot it above you. We climbed up into the eaves of our house one time because I saw this hornet's nest, and I'm right underneath it.
Spraying it. Then it falls on you.
Came right.
Yeah.
We've got falling hornets falling all over.
And they're not dead yet, and they're not happy.
No,
either.
They were not.
Yeah, they're not happy. So that's a good suggestion.
Yeah. So spray at a distance, at a good angle.
Yeah, where they're not going to fall right on you.
Yeah.
That's not great for the spray to be falling on you either.
No.
So, yeah.
Now, what about for spiders?
Yeah, and spiders they have recognized that the daylight hours are getting shorter and the temperatures are getting cooler, so they are looking for a really nice place to set up shop for winter. And so we're seeing more aggressive house spiders and even black widows and brown recluse and spiders we really don't want to have in our house. Yeah. There's some that I'm more okay with being in the house than others, and those three are not welcome at my house. Yeah. And so we start with the traps. So you set up the spider traps, and there's an attractant in the trap. The attractant is not strong enough to bring them inside from outside. So don't worry about that, because I've had customers come in and say, I don't want to set up the traps because it's going to attract them into my house. It's like, well, no. If they're already in the house and they're cruising by, then they're attracted to get into the trap, but it's not going to pull them into your house if they're already outside. So don't worry about that. Use the traps. I use the traps to monitor the insect population. And so when I set my traps up, if I catch a spider once a week or every other week, I'm not too worried about it. It's when you're catching multiples every single day, then you have a higher population. And then I will spray with an insecticide to try and get them under control outside and inside. So my go-to is Seismic. Seismic does a great job. It's very, very safe to use indoors as well as out. It doesn't smell. It doesn't stain. It's super effective on all kinds of insects. Box elder bugs, spiders, earwigs, grasshoppers, anybody that's trying to come inside, it works great on those. And it gives you a 3 to 4 month residual. So you get a nice long residual out of it. But I'll put my traps up first. Don't bother spraying until I start to collect insects in my traps. And then I'll spray. And then I don't really catch anything for months.
For a few months,
yeah.
Okay.
And then when I start to see insect population kick up again, then I know it's time to spray again. So usually I'll do a September application. Sometimes by end of November, I might have to do another one, but then you're usually pretty good for the entire winter until spring. So 1 or 2 sprays this fall would be sensational. And then use your traps to monitor your insect activity. Yeah.
Okay.
And it works great. And they'll catch mice too. So put a little peanut butter in there, and mice get stuck, and
works good for all of them.
It seems a little cruel to catch them on the trap because then they can't get off. Their little feet are stuck on there. But then when the mice get into your drawers and they poop on your utensils,
or they eat your chocolate stash,
and I just don't have much sympathy for them. So
that's right.
That's just really gross. When you catch one mouse, you have more.
Yeah,
and one is never it.
Yeah, there's always more.
There's always more, and then you just kind of go, ooh, that's just so awful. So yeah.
Well, the show has flown by, and
again.
Quick a reminder, the cash sale going on at Anderson Seed and Garden, up to 50% off, and
Yes.
a few items, even more than that.
Yep, so we've got some specials on the Montmorency cherries and the Potentilla. They're an extra 10% on top of that. So they're 60% off if you pay with cash.
Okay.
So great time. And some great events coming up. Latino Festival next week, Pumpkin Festival end of this month.
Yeah. So make sure you join us again next week as we'll be talking more about taking care of your yard and possibly putting in some new grass seed. And that'll be coming up. And if you missed a part of the show, you want to go back and listen to any part of the Garden Guide from today's show or in the past, check out the podcast library at kvnutalk.com, and we'll see you back next week.
Breaking news, stimulating talk.
Here's what we do. The biggest problem we have is ignorance.
KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1.